Okay, so let's continue. We covered an overview the first day. Okay, we started with EclerNet Manager software. Yesterday, we saw deeply events and presets, pagers and deckers, analog and digital remotes, UCP server, and designing UCPs. And today, we will continue with an example of a UCP, source selector and volume UCP, okay? Channel groups, net sync buttons, new features for version 6. We already have seen some of them, but I want to review. So we are all conscious about what's new. EclerNet Manager and related firmware legacy versions. And we will make an overview of DuoNet Player, DN44 Bob, and NXA. And then we will see a little bit an overview of the practical exercise you will have in the advanced exam. And we can, as I expect this not taking too much, we can just make the Q&A section a little bit longer, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead with the user control panels, the programming basic example, okay? Step by step. So this is a possible installation. We've got two sources, two stereo sources and one mono source, okay? And three stereo zones, okay? Three stereo zones, zone 3. I made a mistake. This should be zone 3R, okay? Anyway. And we have a page net as well, okay? So we want to do a UCP like this one, okay? Which would be a selector and a volume, and the volume, okay? How to do it? It's almost the same in MIMO 4040 than in other MIMOs, only as we have seen, only the layout is different, and the options that exist in MIMO 4040, which are not in other MIMOs, are not being used in this example, so you can do it with any matrix. Okay, so first, we should rename the inputs, okay? So we just know what we are talking about, okay? We name it after what is connected, CD, and we activate the stereo, okay? Once it's activated, always we make stereo channels between the odd and the even output, okay? So we do the same for all of the inputs, okay? PC mono and player A, okay? We should continue. Then if you remember, okay, you should put the chain. So everything is linked also in the matrix, not only the parameters in the input section, but also or in the outputs, if we talk about outputs, but also in the matrix. So this chain, what is doing is making this behave as stereo inputs and outputs also in the matrix. Okay. Okay, so we go to properties in order to, you see, in the bottom left side, okay, and we select user control panels, okay, and we add the panel with right-clicking on the title. We add the panel, and we've been asked for the name, okay. Okay, panel 01 is the default name, and in this panel we right-click, okay, and we add a page, okay, and we name it. Okay, so by default, okay, by default, we will have a page of 800 800 by 480. Okay, this is quite this is enough for educational purposes, because if you get a wider, if we do the same with a 1280 by 800, the screen is bigger and you have to scroll. Okay, well, it depends on your PC and your screen, but in my case it would be very big, and it's a little bit more tedious. You have to work a little bit with the scroll bars in order to see all of the UCP. Okay, so we will leave it like this. Okay, so in the page we can add whatever object we want. For example, we can add, okay, we right click and we add whatever we want. Okay, so a button in this case. There we are. Here we have the page, and here we have the first object. We can name it how we want. It's okay. And if we click here, it will open up this window. And in this window, we have a tree of the devices we have in here. So we will open here, and we will maybe decide that we want to mute the cross point between input 1, which is the CD, and output 1, okay, which is the first zone, because we're making UCP for controlling the output of the first zone. So which input we want to select: the CD, which was number 1 and 2 stereo, and the PC mono, which was input number 3, and the player, which was input number 5 and 6. Okay, so in this case we will make the first button and we will point to mute. Okay, okay, there it is. If we want to change the shape of the button, we can push here. Okay, file, we push here, it will open up this file selection window, okay, to just decide which button we want. Okay, remember, this is in the download package you download from our website. Okay, the software and firmware package. So you have there basic control panels folder, and inside basic control panels you will find controls library, and here you will find backgrounds, default size, large size, mid size, and extra large size objects. In this case, we've decided to select a large button, and here we have the list of large buttons we have in our folder. So you can select whichever you want. For example, large black rectangular, say open, and we will have this type of button. Okay, if we wanted to change it, we can just click again here. This is a way of changing the button, but I recommend also to use the UCP I showed you yesterday. So you have to right click on user control panels and import a panel. Okay, and inside these basic folders, basic controls folder, you will find basic panels, and you add onto your project the controls library panel. So you open it, and you will have all of these controls. So it's more visual, you can see them. Okay, then you can just copy and paste. So here, for example, if we want to add a fader, which is quite quite time consuming thing because you know, to add the scale and the fader and the view meter and some text, and maybe you already have it here in a tidy way. So you just say, okay, I want this one, and you just, when you click on here in the tree, is selected whatever you have selected on your right side on the window. So there you can choose what to copy. I want to copy all this fader, which includes the view meter and the text, only the fader, which includes the fader and the scale. Okay. If you want to copy everything, you right click on there and say copy. Okay. And you go here and you paste it. Okay. So we have all of this here. And once it is pasted, you just decide what to control. In this case, for example, we should go onto our device. And in this case, we want to control output 1 volume. Okay, so we would click here, and this view meter should show the output channel, output 1, view meter post. Okay, so we will see the level of the signal that goes out from this output. Okay. Okay, so what else? Maybe we want to change the color because it was some kind of red color. So here we have the color in the page properties. Okay, so here we can click on here and change whatever color we want. We say okay, and there we are. So if we would continue on this, we would arrive to something like this. Okay, you add the text, you add the LEDs, you add the mute button. Okay, so everything will be finished. And if you do it in a tidy way, maybe it just like this. Okay. Okay, but what happens with this? We have these points, okay, to the mute between the input 1 and output 1. This would point to the mute between the input 3 and output 1. Okay. Remember that if we have the chain, whenever this mutes only input 1 and output 1, but input 2 will follow to output 2 as well, because they are stereo linked. Okay. Okay, here we will have the same with input 3, and here we will have the same with input 5. Okay. And here we will move the output. So this will be the parameters we have selected for each button. And we have already selected this one, the output volume, okay, for this one. Okay, but this leads us to a point that the user can choose, can unmute all the inputs, and everything will go to the output. So everything will be mixed. And this is something that is not desirable at first. So it's something you usually want the user to have a selector. What is a selector? That here is a panel for zone 2. A selector would work like if you click on here, it changes and it mutes the previous one and unmutes the one that you have selected. So it would work something like this. Okay. How to make it work like this? Okay. We should add a remote, because this at the end is just like a WPA vol SR. This is the selector. Okay. And this is the volume. And depending on what you have selected, you would have to change the volume, because here in the previous one, we had this volume onto the output. It's pointing to the output. So if we have an end page, what will happen to the signal of the end page if this is down to 0? That we will not hear any announcement. So it's not a great choice to point this fader to the output level. This should point to the selected cross point. Okay. Okay, so how to do this? We need a remote. Okay, in WPA vol SR, we had it was an analog remote, wasn't it? Okay, in this case, okay, we will add here in the remotes list, we will click on here and we will add a virtual remote. Okay, so here it will be listed and we will configure it clicking on here. Okay, we will choose a selector type carousel. We already know what is a carousel. Okay, so here's the UCP that we are working on. We are pointing to zone 2, which was the output number 3. Okay, and we have decided to work with 2 virtuals. This is a concept. Huh? We do not sell any virtual glasses and virtual controls. Okay, but just is to it's a concept. Okay, we have virtual 3, which is the selector. Okay, the source we want to select, and this is virtual 4, the one that controls the volume. Okay, so here we have our carousel. Okay, our ponies. Okay, so these buttons point to virtual 3. How to say to our software that if we point here is the first input, if we point here is the third input, and if we point here, we are referring to the 5th input. Okay, so it will be how we say to the software which pony I want. Okay, okay, so here we have the carousel. Do you remember? It's a round arrow. Okay, so if we open up the window, we can choose and we select the possible choices. Okay, CD, PC mono, and player A, and off. Okay, this is also an option. Okay, if we see here, there are some values here. Okay, 13, 38, 63, 88. So these values are the ones that have to be introduced in the UCP. So this button, for example, DuoNet A, is pointing to virtual 3. That, but how do we say that we want DuoNet A? Because DuoNet A is the 5th input, and the value we have to send is 88. Okay, you select push only, that will send the data whenever you push this button. Okay, and you have to introduce manually. Okay, you just have to write down these numbers and introduce it manually here. Okay, there's no selection. Okay, you only can select virtual 3. Okay, so here it is, push only. So again, let's review all this. We have a panel. We are controlling zone 2, okay? And this is controlling the selector area, the selector buttons, okay? And they all point to virtual 3, which is the virtual is controlling the selection, okay? Virtual 4 is controlling the volume, okay, depending on the selection. And how we assign each and every choice from the carousels list, okay? So the first one will be 38, the second one will be 63, and the third one will be 88. And mute, we can use the off option, okay, here 13. Okay, inputs have to be in exclusive mode. Okay, in order to have this selector mode that we want to achieve. If it would be, there's another mode called mix mode that will make you to mix everything. So that's what we usually do not want. It is possible, but it's usually we don't want this. So that's why I show you the exclusive mode. It's the regular one. Okay. Okay. So now that we've covered virtuals, which are a kind of GPIs, but software GPIs, okay? We can talk about something that we put in the drawer, okay? And that was connecting the WPNet for KVR. Remember, for KVR, these stands for retrocompatible, okay? And why retrocompatible? Because these remotes were born to give service to MIMO 4040, okay? And they were not initially designed to give service to these MIMOs. But we can use it with these MIMOs, okay? How? We will add a device, as in the MIMO 4040 case, okay? But instead of selecting WPNet 4KB, we will choose WPNet 4KBR, okay? Okay. Remember that we can select this here, and we should upgrade or change the firmware to the KVR version. There are two versions of firmware in our package. One is 4KV and the other one is 4KVR. So in this case, for these matrices, we have to use R version, okay? Okay, so we have added 4KVR and we will see something like this. I guess it's here, it's bigger, okay? So we configure the LCD modes, whatever. Here we have the network, so which IP address we have for this device in this network, and the mask, whatever. And here we have a new thing, because this is common to like when you configure the device in the MIMO 4040, okay? It's they are the same parameters, okay? But here we have some new ones, okay, that are called settings. Which are the settings? Here, we should introduce the IP to control. So if I want to control a MIMO 88 in this network, I should place the IP of the MIMO 88, okay? For example, here, and there is a MIMO, whatever it is, that is in the 192.168.088 IP address, okay? This is the IP to control. Next, we'll have the selector control. So we will use a virtual, okay? In this case, virtual 1 should point to that control, okay? And virtual 2 as well. So we use a virtual remote, okay? A virtual remote, like we added for the UCP panel, and we assign virtual 1 and virtual 2 for configuring these remotes in the old MIMOs, okay? Not the last one, which is MIMO 4040. Okay, hope this is clear. If not, we can just repeat it in the Q&A sections, okay? Okay, so what else? One more thing about remotes. For those who already know WP Touch, okay? WP Touch used to be a digital remote for these MIMOs, okay? Which is now discontinued, so we don't sell it anymore. So it had a function which was called multi-function. Just with one remote, you can just control not only one zone, but many zones, okay? This, you could do it with WP touch, which is this one that is discontinued, with these matrices, okay? And you can do it right now with this kind of WPNet for KV with MIMO 4040. But you don't have multi-option in MIMO 1212, MIMO 88SG, and MIMO 88, okay? There's no multi-option with these remotes, okay? Because they work with virtual, and so it's not possible to assign multiple zones, okay? Okay, so let's continue. 10 o'clock, okay? Okay, UCP, advice and tips. Think big, okay? These are several advices for making UCPs. You have to think just about the number of things you have to put in a UCP. You have to, if you need 8 strips, faders, boomers with a mute button, just in one zone, and in another zone you need 3, and in another zone you need 5. Just design the one of 8 buttons, the one that is bigger and have more controls in it, and then make these sections invisible. So you will not have to design one for 3 and one for 8. Just you design the one for 8 controls, and you make 5 controls invisible, and then you just design once, okay? Also think about resolution, okay? And smartphones. A very tiny button, which you can see in a 10-inch screen perfectly, and it's very, very comfortable. Maybe in a smartphone will not be as comfortable. So think always where you have to display and control these UCPs before designing everything, and afterwards realizing that it's too small for the user. Okay, so try it and be conscious that it may happen that they do not like tiny buttons or faders. Okay, so I always recommend to use it using very big controls. Okay, keep away from corners. Let me show you okay, let's open some project. For example, this one of the UCPs. Cancel. Okay. So when you have your UCPs, localhost. Okay. In the screen, okay, there are OSD keys sometimes if you want it. Okay, so these OSD keys are something which are in the corners, okay, here. So if you place things in the corners, you won't be able to reach them because OSD buttons are on the top. So if you put something here, page link button, okay, you will not be able, because what works is the OSD button. So just take into account this when you design, if you want to use OSD buttons. Now, in this last version, you can hide these OSD buttons and make it invisible and not workable. It's the safe mode. So it's not such a problem, but if you want to use them, just keep in mind that you cannot place anything in the corners. Okay. Use layers and layers and layers. Okay. Layers and layers, as we have seen, it's important in order to have everything tidy and everything that you can work. Okay. You have here a mute button, but it's not only a mute button, is the button, the LED, and the text. So if I have it like this, I can move it easily. Okay. If it's not locked. Okay, I can move everything easily. I cannot use, it does not exist multiple selection. So the only way of moving everything is having it in a layer. And the only way of copying several objects is having it in a layer. So, sorry. So if I want to copy this button, I will go like here and paste it. Okay, and then move it, and I will have two buttons. Okay, so and then I can change whatever parameter I want. Okay. Okay. Use unlock. Use lock. No undo. Unfortunately, there's no undo. So if I move this like this, there's no edit, undo here, no Control Z. So once you are happy with your design, okay, lock everything. So you cannot move this object again, okay? If not, sometimes it's easy when you are changing parameters to click on here and move it without, so move this because you are assigning a different parameter and you click here and you move it slightly. So in order to have it everything aligned and tidy and nice, just lock it and you won't have any trouble. Windings and webdings. I don't know if you're familiar with this ones. It's a trick that I love to use. Okay, let me show it to you. If you open, for example, whatever in the Office family, for example, let's open Word. Okay, you can introduce a symbol. Okay, which is, well, this is in Spanish, but it's okay. It's insert symbol. Okay, and it here it opens up this. You see there are lots of icons. Okay, arrows, and you have windings, webdings. Okay, with several nice pictures. For example, if I want to use this one for announcements, I don't know. I insert this one, okay, and I copy it. Then I can go back to my UCP, okay, and insert add a text, for example. Where is it? Static text. Okay, and paste it here. As you see, I have not pasted anything apparently, but if I choose webdings, where is it? Webdings. Okay, there you are. So this is nice for having buttons, because one thing is I can use an image, but when if you want to use bigger buttons, the image has to be bigger, and you cannot make it bigger from the UCP designer. So in this case, as this is text, I can make it as big as I want. So it's a good choice for some solutions. I make some home buttons with this kind of solution. You can see it in the extra panels and miscellanea pages also in controls library. So just another another trick. Okay, no, don't use strange fonts. Okay, besides Windings and Webdings, these kind of fonts are used are widely used, and they are installed in almost in each computer. But sometimes we have some fonts that are only in our computer, but not in other ones. You can use strange fonts to make the design, okay? And when you send it to our UCP server, they will be perfectly seen. But what happens if I go there and I don't have that font? When I get the project, I do not get the font, okay? So what would happen? I will see in a random font, maybe Arial, instead of whatever I have designed. And this makes that misalignments between because you know that some fonts are wider and some fonts are narrower. So my recommendation is to keep your creativity safe, okay, and do not make, just keep in regular fonts like Arial, Calibri, whatever the fonts that you have regularly in your laptop, your Windows software, so you don't have any troubles on this. Okay, so use opacity, and this is quite a nice example, because if I want to make zone 3, okay, this is not blue, this is white and with some opacity. So it's easy to make another. Okay, let's make it with zone 1. Okay, zone 2. Okay, so we can just paste and change the background, okay, and make it, for example, green for zone 3. So it will be easy to change everything and not to having to change every color. Okay, it looks nice as this. Okay, recycle, be green, don't work twice. Import, export. Okay, so here I have a design, and don't work twice, meaning I will not make this panel again. I will just design it or change the parameters to make it work for zone 3. For example, here, we use virtual 1 and 2 for zone 1, 3 and 4 for zone 2, for example. And this is pointing to the virtuals of zone 2 because I copied zone 2. Then I will have to change that. So one way is double clicking and changing this to 5 and 6 for zone 3. So this will be 5 instead of 3, 5. Or I can just copy this and paste it directly here. Okay, so it's easier and faster. Okay, and this would be virtual 6. Okay, as you see, it's very fast to change. We should change the LEDs as well. So this, instead of output 3, would be output 5. Okay, you can change it directly here. Okay, because this panel belongs to this project. But what happens when a panel do not belong to this project? So I want to use virtual 5. I want to use a panel which do not belong to this project. Let's import another panel. To import a panel or a page, better. To import a panel, you can import it here. To import a page, you import it here. You right click on here, you see? Import page. Here, import panel. Here, import page. Let's import a page for zones, for example. Okay. This one I like it because I use it many times. Okay. Here, you see, This is red. Why? Because it's pointing to a matrix which does not exist in my project. Pointing to a matrix called MIMO. Okay. So what can I do? Okay, let's forget about now if it's virtuals are configured correctly or not. Okay, this is pointing to E1 Corfu. I can change it and okay, say okay, I pointed to virtual 2 of my matrix. Okay, I can change directly here. Okay, my matrix is not called like this, it's called MIMO. You see, whenever I write it points to the right path, then it turns white. Okay, or maybe what can I do is, okay, let's call this one E1 Corfu. Okay, so I go back to this page and this one has turned white. Okay, but I do not want this name. I want to call it MIMO. Okay, so there we are. It's called MIMO. So we can just change the name, and once it has been found the path, okay, it will follow. Okay, now they are called mark. So it's a good way to know this, because you can import and export pages, make your own library of pages and UCPs, and just share it between projects. Okay. Channel groups. This is something that I do not use many times, but in some cases it's useful. I do not like this option because I always forget I'm using it because I do not use it many times. So when I use it, then if I get back to the project after some months, I forgot that I have been using it. But it's a nice feature as well. Let's think we have two MIMOs, okay, in two different buildings, but they are connected to the same network, okay, and we want to they have their own controls except for the hall and the corridors on one side and the parking number 1, parking number 2, okay, hall, corridors of building. This is the matrix, building 1 matrix, okay, and parking -1 and -2, okay, and we have the same for building 2 matrix. We have hall, corridors, several floors, parking number 1 -1 and parking -2. Okay, so I want to control with one control. I want to control both matrices at the same time. So this is, you can use channel groups. What is a channel group? Okay, we have here channels. Okay, we open up here, we will have a list of all the outputs available in the project, not in the MIMO, but in the project. As you see here, there is building 1, which is the first MIMO, the 12 outputs, and building 2, which is the second MIMO. Okay, here are not all seen, but also 12 outputs. Okay, so if we click on here, we will go to the channels, groups per channel container. Okay, by default there's an all group which contains all outputs. Okay, here we have. So we can create more groups to make other groupings. Okay, here I've made a hall and corridors. Okay, and I just drag and drop from the bottom or from the side. You can drag and drop signals, okay, output signals, and assign it to this control, okay. For example, here for the parkings, okay, we have these two. What will happen then? Okay, when this fader is something that you will not see in the matrix. That's why I always get fooled when I use it, because it's a, let's say, it's a multiplier. Okay, for the ones that use live consoles, mixing consoles, is like a VCA. Okay, for the ones who do not use mixing consoles, it's a kind of multiplier. So if the output, one of these outputs, let's think about output 10. Okay, this output is assigned to this channel group. Okay, if this output is at volume 100 and this is at the at 0, it will, so at 100, let's say, we will have in the output 100. If 1 is 0, then you will have in the output 0. If both of the levels are 50%, you will get 25% in the output. So it's like a multiplier, just to get to know how it works. So the point is that you can keep the balance between several outputs, and with this control the overall level with these differences of balance, okay? Because there is a multiplier factor. So it's a tool that can be useful sometimes. For example, if you have several NXAs in your project and you want to, maybe you have some tops and some subs and you have different levels and you want to fader to control everything at the same time, keeping the balance between them. So it's a nice choice. Again, when you use this, keep in mind that you will not, the only way to see you have this is getting into channel group. Okay, you will not notice in the matrix. Okay. Okay. So, and in the UCP we can assign the fader. Okay. You will see the tree of devices. Okay, this is not the one you want to choose. You will go to the end. In channel groups, you will go to hall and corridors group and you will select volume. Okay. Sorry, the same for the parking. Okay, so let's continue with net string buttons. Net string buttons. It's a button that sends a defined UDP or TCP text screen, okay, or a list or batch of text screens to a defined IP port or to many ports, okay. It can be used for controlling external devices from a UCP panel, and we can build an integrated and single control system in an installation. Let's see this. We can create like small routines. How it works. For example, in our website, we have an example of ePlayer and Hub. These two devices are not EclerNet devices, so they do not belong to this platform. Okay, they are Ecler devices, but not EclerNet devices. So can they be controlled from WPNet Touch, which is the screen that works with EclerNet? Yes, with net string buttons. How? Each and every button has a command that is sent onto the network. So this button sends a UDP command to this IP and this port, okay? And say system connect once, set the output source selection 1 to input 1, and system disconnect. Okay. How do I know all this data? Okay, because I go to the manual of the hub. Okay, and I see the TPNet manual, okay, because it's the manual for commands. And I see, okay, for hub, you have to use the 5800 UDP port. Okay, so 5800. This IP should be the IP of the device I want to control, of course. And how do I know this, the data that I have to introduce? Okay, here I go to the page of the manual of hub series digital zoner, and I see, okay, the first message should be system connect or system connect once. Second message should be set output source selection, whatever, okay? Okay, so you have to read the manual, so just in order to know what you have to click to command. What are these parameters /n? Okay, you can find this in the manuals. This is something in the programmer's side, okay? You need to know if you need to add a carrier return at the end or a light feed at the end. This is also in the TPNet manual. In case of hub, in case of ePlayer, it's in another manual. And in case of a projector you want to control, you can control a projector or whatever device it's in the network and it's controllable from TCP, UDP. It's in the manual of the manufacturer of the device you want to control that you will have to find what commands to set in that netstring buttons. So please refer to that manufacturers which commands are available, because we do not know the commands of I don't know, an Epson projector. It depends on Epson. It does not depend on us. So you have to just investigate a little bit and contact the other manufacturer you want to control, and knowing what to introduce in the EclerNet Manager to control that device. Okay. Here you can have another instruction with, in this case, selecting number 2, zone 1, because this is zone 1. Okay. Or incrementing the level. Okay, these are different netstring buttons. Okay, one limitation of this is that you cannot receive information. So at the very beginning, you see here there's no LED that lets you notice which input is selected. Okay, it's a limitation. TCP, ePlayer. ePlayer is not TPNet, it's JSON commands. So here's a JSON commands. You will have to go to the corresponding manual and see what to introduce. Player open source 1. Okay, it's usually quite easily understanding. Okay, but you have to know. If you need commas here, you have to put 2.0 or 3.0. I don't know either. Just go to the manual and find out. Okay. There's something new here in this new feature, in this new version, number 6. As you see here, we always introduce the TCP, the IP address. Okay. In all the buttons. What happens that if I want to choose to use this nice control, UCP control, in another ePlayer, if it's not in this IP, I will have to change each and every button to change the new address. Okay, because maybe I want to use this UCP for an ePlayer which is in the 11.11.1.100 address. So I will have to get into each and every button to change that. For avoiding this, okay, we have created something that is called device, external device. The external device, in this case, it's I have named it like hub, okay? This external device, it's only an IP address. So in the case I have, this is the previous case. In the case I have this, okay, instead of pointing to an IP, I can point to an alias, okay, hub. So if I have to use this, if I have to use this UCP in another hub, I will have just to change this IP address and it will work, okay, without having to change each and every button, okay, just changing whatever IP address is content in here under the hub, which is the alias name, it will work as well. So this is a new feature we have added. Okay. So UCPs can control not only audio, but also video and other controls. All those controls are S232 controls, okay? Okay, so here is another example of sending commands to video devices, okay? In this case, they are video devices. And this reminds me, I have to okay, let me show you some of the here UCP panels, import panels, and basic video panels. Okay, these are the basic video panels that are now in the package. Okay, as you see here, we have this method. Okay, this is our SWM45 switcher. Okay, and each button, it contains the netstring button, the corresponding netstring button, the corresponding instruction, and here we've got the alias. So if I want to use this, I should just create the corresponding alias here, because these are not EclerNet native, EclerNet native devices. So it should add a device, an external device, okay, and set, okay, so this is whatever address is it, 110, let's say, and I rename it, okay, rename after the name it has. So now, whenever I push this button, it will send an instruction to the IP I have introduced up in the external device. Okay, hope this is clear. And this takes me also to one answer. I made a mistake. I have to apologize. I made a mistake the first day because I've been corrected from my colleagues, because I said that the XRI2L, okay, the receiver for video receiver, okay, the device, we cannot send RS232 commands through it from a button, and I have learned that yes, it is possible. You can create a button which will make that device send an RS232 command through his RS232 port. So, and it is explained in the manual. So just to make it clear that I made a mistake. I wasn't aware, because in fact, in other devices, it's not possible. In the UC 1C version of the video over IP is not possible, that option. But in the 2L, is possible. So now we make it clear. Okay, so what else can we do with nesting buttons? You can send not only one instruction to one device, but you can send several instructions one after the other. So in one button, we can send maybe a command to a hub, choosing the audio input, a command to a video device, choosing the video input, and maybe we can send another command to maybe another device, which makes the lights dimmed and slow down. So with one button, we create a routine. We made some changes in different devices, and we can just select another button. In this case, we are choosing conference mode or default mode, which would be the lights 100% turned on and no video, no audio, maybe. Okay, and with background music. Okay. New features for EclerNet Manager version 6. Okay, let's see. This is something that I have in my computer. We have to wait until VLC opens up. Okay, so there we are. Let me stop in between. Okay, I have something like in here that I cannot move now. Okay, it's okay. We will see it like this. Okay, so here we have this video that marketing people have made. The first point would be this one. EclerNet Manager now supports from version 6 HTML5. What does it mean? Up to now, we used UCPs that were designed in Flash, okay? And why do we had to make this change if it was working properly? Okay, because from some months ago, okay, Adobe, which is the propriety of Flash, said that they will no longer support browsers with Adobe Flash. What this means? This means that if you have an old firmware, software or firmware in your devices and you are accessing UCPs from a PC, you will not see it properly, okay? It won't work after the beginning of 2021. So, if you have some projects that people get into UCPs with their PCs, you should upgrade that installation, okay, to make it properly work. If you are not working with PCs, there's no problem because they will not automatically update and they will be working in Flash forever because Flash, it will continue working. But if you have some PCs and work accessing to the UCPs of whatever UCP server are you using, then after 2021, January, the beginning of January of 2021, they will not work. So please, if you have an installation in that case, you can go there and just upgrade the firmware, okay? Because now it's HTML5. Okay, what else? Okay, there is now acoustic echo cancellation. It's something that we already seen briefly, okay? With for room modules and up to 8 mics. Okay. The new flexible audio routing in MIMO 4040. This is in conference version and also in the regular version. Okay. But it begins from version 6 onwards. It's some new feature. New tooltips. Okay. So now if we also this section of view meters is also new. And now if you stay in one of these faders, it will appear this box saying which signals, where are routed these signals, where they came from, and where are used. Several buttons can be stacked. So here is an example. There is several buttons, 5 buttons. And here this mutes output 1, this one mutes output 2, and this was mutes output 3. This one changes to page 2, and this one activates a preset number 2. Okay, so they put one over the other, and with just one click, okay, just one click, all the oh, sorry, it doesn't stop. Okay, all the outputs are mute, 1, 2, 3. The preset is recalled, and it has jumped, your UCB has jumped to UCB page number 2. Okay, just with one click. Digital events can be triggered by automatic signal detection. So we can use a Docker, okay, and assign any input to it. And as long as the threshold is achieved, then we will have an activation of an event, and it will be a digital event, so we can make any action we want. Okay. A new external type of device. This is something that I already shown you today. Okay. See here, we've got an IP for each and every button, and then we add this external device, which is a generic device, and we change the name. We put the IP, the corresponding IP address, and we can just change the name of the button, so we can use this in another device, which is in another IP address. Okay, so this USB will be configured to be used many times. Okay. What else? There's more. Virtual controls management from TPNet protocol for all matrices. This means that up to now we didn't have this option. Now from TPNet you can just say send a value for a virtual. Before this latest package, it was not possible to access to virtuals from TPNet. Okay, now it's possible. And now we also have improved in the screens in the UCP visualization in WPNet Touch or PageNet, because you can just put the scroll methods can be disabled, so you cannot let the people just change like this the pages. And you can create a closed navigation section, so only they can just navigate through the menus and different pages with page link buttons and without having to scroll. Okay. And also, I don't know if it's set here, but the secure mode, yes, it's set here. So now there's also a secure mode that the user cannot access to any menu, and just you can go back to the menu as installer if you just touch the bottom left and right corners of the PageNet or the WPNet touch, and during, I think it's something like 10 seconds or something like that, and then it appears the menu. So it's in secure mode, and nobody will access like that. Okay. What else? We are about to finish for MIMO. Okay, MIMO 4040DN, it had 10 pages and daggers before. Now we have increased up to 25. The number of carousels have also been increased up to 40, and the number of virtual controls has been increased also up to 80. Okay. Okay, so what's next? There we go. This is everything. So in order to make a firmware upgrade of an installation that you've got that old, or you want to change something in an installation and you don't have, there are two options. If you do not want to upgrade, or if you do not have a backup file in an old installation, okay? Okay, first you need to check the firmware of your devices. So with your software, you can access to the devices and make the firmware. So visualize which firmware has in it, okay? Oh, sorry, I just touched, I did not, okay, there we are. So the second thing is checking the firmware you need in EclerNet Manager and related firmware legacy versions, which is a PDF. I will show you where to find it. Once you know which software you need to connect and work with that firmware, you download it to your PC and you install the corresponding version, so you will be able to operate, make the backup file, or make a little change if you don't want to upgrade the firmware. Okay, so here in software, you will have this file, EclerNet Manager and related firmware legacy versions, which is also, if you don't have an internet connection, is also contained in the zip of the software and firmware package. So you can find it either here in the website or inside the package you have downloaded to install the firmware. Okay. So inside you will see a PDF, okay, containing a table, and this is just an extract in there. It's a longer table, but if you just go to an installation and you see that your firmware of your MIMO 88SG is 2.00R0, sorry, okay, you know that to operate with this MIMO, you will need to install EclerNet Manager version 5.00R5, okay? So here you will go to our website, go to the support part, legacy downloads software. You get into EclerNet Manager software, and here you will find any of these softwares. So, and if you don't find one, you can contact always to tech support to solve if you don't find it here. Okay. Okay, so EclerNet Manager NXA. This is, now we've covered almost everything in MIMO, so we can go through the different devices that we have left. But I will be, as you are aware of all the concepts, it's quite easy to review other devices in the software. So let's do it online. Okay, let's add a device, an external device now, an NXA, whatever, 480, for example. Okay, so here we have an NXA. We have configuration, networking. Okay, this you can just enable or disable the level knobs on the front panel or the power button on the front panel. Here we have also what is assigned to each and every knob. So you can assign the first knob to 2 outputs, on the fourth or the let's say the third to the third knob to the third output, and the fourth knob to the fourth output. So you can either change that. Okay, here you can change this, whatever. Okay, so what else? Here we can change these front panel knobs in order to change the input before getting into the module, the amplification module. So we can change the input as well. If it's clipping, we can attenuate it. What else can we do here? We have GPIs. So with GPIs, we can control source selection. Now, for example, we could just change between the 4 inputs in output number 1, in channel number 1, okay? Or maybe we can just we can want just to affect two channels, okay? This would be an option. And in the first GPI, we can choose also we can choose the option presets, which would be changing the presets with the selector. Okay, so you should connect the corresponding WPA vol SR and just using the SR connection to GPI1, so you can change between these 4 presets and the regular one. So what else? We have also as well virtuals, and they work the same way as GPIs. We have 4 virtuals here, the ones that are called 1A and 1B. So depending on what you have selected, so you will have these virtuals activated or not. Okay, and it works the same way as GPIs. You have 1 Docker as well. Okay, you can select which input will activate this Docker. And here you have the matrix in every input channel, level, crossover, parametrics, a compressor, and the configuration here is where you configure it if you are in bridge or in parallel, besides connecting in the back of the unit, connecting the outputs as required, and okay, also the gain. So if we want a compressor mode or a peak limiter, okay, if we want a peak limiter, it will change here. Okay, so more or less that's it for NXA. We have 4 channels or 6 channels. DuoNet player. Okay, here we have the configuration page, which is in the device tab. Okay, here we can activate or deactivate the front panel keys, the IR keys. Okay, and here this is important for time scheduled events. Remember, if you want to just have it on time always forever, just enable NTP synchronization on and let the DuoNet have access to internet, so it can synchronize with an NTP server. Okay, so player A, here we have the transport controls, load playlist, play mode, repeat mode, fade mode, okay? By default is like this. Be aware, because if you have a ring bell of 5 seconds, the fade in and the fade out are like fade in 3 seconds and something like that, and the fade out 3 seconds. So if you have a file of 5 seconds, you may not hear it, because it starts fading in and then it goes fading out. So it has not time to just have 100% of the level. So maybe if you have a ring bell, you have to change this to have a cut, not fade in, fade out, but just a sharp entrance, okay? This is the volume, the stereo mode or mono, and the vari speed. Player B, the same. And here we have the priority modules, okay? So high, here we select the high or low priority and the priority volume. And here we have the attenuation program, the attenuation of program media player, attenuation depth, or the fading times, okay? The same for module number 2. Okay, so if we click on here, it appears a window, which is the playlist window. What do we have in the playlist window? By default, we have these two, USB and SD card, okay? And we have the content, USB. We can change it if we want, okay? But what else we can add here? We can add, we can point to a device in the network, which contains MP3, for example, or a folder in the network, which is, there are a lot of musics, okay? Here, a folder in the USB, for example, or a radio as well, an internet radio. You will find a document in our website of how to get internet radio addresses, because it's not the what you see on the browser, is something that is in the back. So sometimes it's not so easy to get these internet addresses, okay? Okay, we have up to 99 playlists, okay? So there's quite a lot to put in there. And also we can create PLS, which are files for playlists. So we can create a playlist of files of playlists. So this can be huge, a huge amount of audio source files, okay? Okay, so besides the playlist, we have also here the events, okay? Which by default, we have these ones. From, and we have from panels, from F1 to F5, okay? F1 to F5 for player A, and F1 to F5 for player B. By default, the F1 is USB selection, the F2 is SD selection, okay? By default, the F3 is the playlist number 3 selection. So if we have something in playlist number 3, it will be reached if you push F3. These are events, as you know, and it can be changed. So, or we can add more events. For example, add new, and it will appear this window that we already have seen in MIMO. What is an event, and a source and a target. So, which events we have in DuoNet? We have GPI, virtual, okay? Panel key, which means a key on the front panel, okay? IR key, which means a key in the remote control, a button in the remote control. A preset as a source, so when I get into preset number 2, I make an action. Time scheduled event and time scheduled by basic, okay? The difference between these two is these are more aimed for daily repetition. This is has more complex repetition. So you have either two choices for time scheduled events. Okay, targets, preset. Okay, we can just recall a preset or configure the program media playback. So start some file to be playing, or start some priority media playback, which will get the level down of the program, and just it will have priority over the program. And afterwards, when the condition of the priority media playback is deactivated, then it will be already, it will get back the program media playback. So the program will go down and up, and the priority media playback will play at the moment which is down. Okay. We can change various speed with some of these sources, and we can change transport control, play, pause, forward, backward. Okay. We see an event example of a time scheduler basic. Okay. For example, start date, start time, and the duration is forever. So one thing to point out here is we have, it starts at 4:55, okay, and it repeats two times, interval 5 minutes. And why it says that this event will finish at 5 minutes past 5? Why not at 5? Because there is an original event, which is the start time. So it will play one time, the original one, at 16:55, and it will repeat then two times. So after 5 minutes, it will repeat the first time, and it will repeat a second time. So if you want to play it 3 times, you play the original one and 2 repetitions. Okay, I hope it's clear. So that's why we added this this field here, just to inform when the event will finish, when it will be the last repetition. Okay. Okay. Program media playback. Let's see what we have here inside. Okay, the source can be whatever, and we make an action of program media playback. Okay, so here we have the playlist to play mode, play, and we can just play it into player A and player B, or we can choose which option we want. Okay, this will be added here. For example, if we used an event with a GPI, and maybe a GPI, it's something of the alarm system, and we want the priority media playback to be launched. Okay, so priority, here we select the module, if it's module number 1 or number 2. Here we select the playlist to play, and this module you want to affect to player A, to player B, or both. And if you want to be this priority media playback be active meanwhile the contact is active, or if you want to just hold it until you finish the file. So the what you are playing depends on you. There are 2 modes. Okay. Mainly these are the special ones. The other ones we have already seen with MIMO. Okay. DN44 Bob, very easy. We have this software window to configure. Basically, we have analog audio inputs here, okay, and a preamp. We have here sensitivity, phantom. In this case, phantom is 48 volt in the DN44 Bob, okay, and we can just change the level which is sent to the Dante network, okay? Well, to the network actually. Okay, so the channels, the analog channels get into the strip and they get out from the strip. And the same way for output channels. So we have here Dante receivers, and we can just adjust levels and we will have it in the analog outputs. Here we have same style as an XSA. We can change presets in GPI1, the output volume or input volume, okay, for GPIs. And GPOs, we can just change the configuration of GPOs directly pushing here or recalling an event which has the GPOs in its memory. You have to know that there are no events for Bob, okay? It does not integrate any event, and it also, Bob cannot receive TPNet commands as well, okay? So GPOs can only be changed by preset. Okay. What else? Where do I find information? This is important, so I repeat it, already said, but user manual, EclerNet Manager, this is the main one. This is the, let's say, the Bible or whatever you want to call it, the main book you have to look for answers, okay? You have also the user manuals of each device, which will help you with the hardware part of the installation. And you have also other manuals like the TPNet manual, okay? You have data sheets, text files, okay? Everything mainly, and the main manual, you can find it on software, here, manual, okay? Well, this will be in English in your case if you're not Spanish, but it's the same. It says user manual, okay? Okay, so there's one manual that I do not set yesterday and today. It's how to edit Ecler standard UCP graphical controls to create your own ones. So we have a library of buttons, but you can, here, this PDF will help you to create your own ones. Basically, it's easier if you modify the existing ones, okay? So if you want a customized button, then you can create it. Just read this PDF. Here we can find the software, okay? With the latest software and firmware. Remember, the firmware is in this file. It's not installed with the if you install the software, the firmware is not in the installed files. The firmware files are in the zip file you download there and only there. So keep it in a safe folder in order to upgrade your devices. Okay, if you delete it after installing the software, you have no firmware with you. You will have to download it again, okay? You can also find here in this package, you can also find the basic panels, the controls library, and also the legacy software and firmware table, the one that you have also here, just here under the link of the software and firmware package. Is the same file. This one, the one that is included in the package. Examples, you can find here example project, the one that we have seen of TCP UDP, the one of the hub and the player is here. Some more example projects, there are also UCPs included, example of the hotel or whatever. And here we have recently placed the extra UCPs file, which you will find more UCPs to use and to modify to meet your taste. Okay. Also media files. Here you will find video tutorials. There are 11 videos. We will be publishing also some more videos. Okay. So please, and also try in support side webinars. We will how do you say, upload this webinar we are having today, and there's also a shorter one. It might be maybe the shorter one is only in Spanish. I do not remember, but just check there are webinars already online. Okay, and please, one advice as well. No, here. Okay. Subscribe. Okay, here in the bottom side you've got here, subscribe to our newsletter. Is the best way to know there is a new software or a new improvement in EclerNet Manager. So please, if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe right now so you can receive the latest news. Okay. This is everything. I think we could go for the, let me just go through the practical exercise, as we said.
Yeah.
Let me, so I can show it. That you will have in the advanced exam, okay? Just, okay, it's just an exercise just to make you work with the software, so you understand how to work with it and where are the different things. Here you have the audio sources that we need for a virtual hotel, okay, with 15 zones, okay. Actually, this is wrong. Now I say they are not 15 zones, they are 14. So this is wrong. Sorry for that. And just put your IP, just on advice sensitivity, delays, frequency shifters on noise gates will not be taken into account. So we don't care about adjustments, which are usually made inside, okay. Remotes. Here, remotes are controlled. We want to control lobby, reception, and corridors with just one WPA Vol SR, which is connected to these GPIs, okay? So you will have to configure this remote. It's an analog remote. We give some clues here, so just in order to help you a little bit, because we all want to get your certificate. So we all want the people certificated, okay? Also, there's another zone that has a WPA wall, okay? And just to program this WPA wall, the paging stations, okay? It will have to page only from outputs to 1 to 14 because we only have 14 outputs, okay? To configure the function buttons, F1 and F2, they will have to be configured. Okay. Player messages should be played. Okay, player messages. We have some player that should be played in the lobby, reception, and corridors. Okay, but with less priority than the paging station. And UCPs. I think that there are a couple of UCPs, one for the bar and one from the conference room. Okay, and here we have events. Okay, time is scheduled events. We are only are talking about MIMO, so you don't have to care about player or other devices. Just one MIMO. Okay, so this is the practical exercise. It's not hard. It's just to get you feel friendly with our software and see how you develop yourself, just making this exercise. Okay, so I think that's all for me.